All right, so you guys head back to Ilmarin. This is Ilmarin is the palace of the Valar. Actually, it's the palace of Manwë, who is the leader of the Valar. Manwë isn't here presently, doesn't seem like, but there are 8 Valar here. In addition, there's Yngwë. Yngwë is the High King of the Vanyar Elves, also called the Spear Elves, and he's the High King of all the elves. Um, and he's kind of I described him as your Virgil, right? Or Beatrice, right? From the Divine Comedy. He's kind of your tour guide he explained what was going on with the Valar. Does someone want to tell Charlie what's going on with these Valar and why they're not just kicking Morgoth's ass by themselves? Well, it has to do with a prophecy. Yeah, they've been away from the light for a long time. But Charlie, something that would be really good for you to look at. If you look in lore, um, there are several ones. Prophecy of Mondos, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4. I don't know if you have Part 4 yet. So 1 through 3, you might want to check out at some point. That's going to describe what's going to go on here in the trials. And I am going to share out one more thing. Let's see, what was it? It was under miscellaneous, it was the Octagram of Ilmarin. And I was just basing the next adventure. So this is kind of a choose your own adventure where you guys decide what trial you're going to do and when. But from what I got from you guys, you wanted to do the 2 Silmaril trials first. I hope that's still the case, because that's what I prepared. All right. Before we go on this, though, can you guys tell me if you are able to recover the other Silmaril and rescue Arendil? Remember the guy in the ship that was sailing across the sky? He was the guard at the door of night. He was knocked out of the sky by Ancalagon the dragon. As well, the 2 Maiar that were carrying the sun and the moon were knocked out of the sky. And so that's the Trial of Vana. That's the one with the picture of the sun and the moon. So you've done the Trial of Ulmo. You will go to the Trial of Vana. But what would you like to do after that? And there are descriptions. Well, if you have a question about one, I can tell you, or Yngwë would tell you about it. So you ask Yngwë. Yeah. So there are 2 trees, obviously, the silver Telperion and the golden Laurelin. And he says that you could do either the Trial of Vana or the Trial of Ulmo. The Trial of Vana will take you to Metal Tarma, which is the highest point on the island of Numenor. And you remember Numenor was where the Numenorians lived and was sunken under the water when they attacked the Valar. There are rumors, and sailors have been searching for the highest point of Numenor for many years, because they believed that Metal Tarma, the highest point, was still above the water. You also remember someone told you there's an item in Metal Tarma. So it wasn't Burin's axe, but yeah, the Dramberleg, which was the axe of Tuor, Turin's cousin. Supposedly, they told you to seek out Queen Beruvil's cats in Metal Tarma. Okay, so that's one possible one. So you could go to an island, a high point of an island, and this would be These are your ancestors, Faradir. And the other possible one is the Trial of Ulmo, and that would take you, he says, to the Golden Wood, and you know that and you've traveled through the Golden Wood, a lot of you, and that's Lorien, where Galadriel and Celeborn used to live. And your goal there would be, it's the only place in the world where the golden malorn trees still grow, and your goal there would be to recover a golden malorn nut to regrow Laurelin. So Tessero might have a pretty strong opinion about this because of his cloak. it actually started taking on a particular color. And I don't know if you took notes on what I told you, but maybe one of these trees would look, one of these tasks or trials would look more appealing to you to do sooner. Okay, so back to Lorien, back to Middle Earth. You haven't been there in 120 years, both of you, or all of you. Charlie, there's even though 120 years hasn't passed, there's some weird, when you travel across the straight road, you can't just sail across the sea to get to Valinor. Only the elves can get to Valinor, and you either have to take a boat, and time is all screwed up when you travel across the straight road, or you can take certain portals. The portal from Ilmarin, however, there is no like time discrepancy. So you can basically go to anywhere on the planet from Ilmarin. All right, so next time I will prepare the Trial of Ulmo. Now, before we go on, I've prepared a couple of things. So we have to decide: A, how urgent is this? Do you need to take a rest? What kind of a rest? And then you need to level quickly to level 17. It will have a definite. So anything that you decide from this point on will affect sort of how many battles or how powerful the battle is. So what do you guys know about this other trial? The Trial of who is it? Which one are you doing? You're going to be doing the Trial of Vana. What do you remember about it? A long dead dragon, and the reason that was it was not poetic justice, but like it was definitely revenge, because Eönwë was the one to slay Ancalagon originally. And so when Ancalagon was brought back by the shadow, the first target was Eönwë, and whatever, revenge. You guys took a short rest, which means Charlie, you take an hour to sort of like patch your wounds, and you guys can use. You have so many hit dice now. I think you have like, I don't know how many hit dice, but you have a lot, and you just click your hit dice button. And you can get back that number of hit points that you roll. So when you guys get back, Eönwë is like just mesmerized by the Silmaril, and it's been thousands of years since he's looked upon the light of the two trees that are trapped in the Silmaril, and he offers to take it down the mountain to Tilion for you while you're on this next trial. And the other thing that you notice while you're in the room is you just finished the Trial of Ulmo, and you actually see Ulmo like stretching and moving around since you've completed his trial. He actually steps out, and he would tell you. He would actually start singing, believe it or not, and he's whispering. He's like you can tell he's translating, or if he's not translating, you're actually able to understand what he's saying in Valyrian, the language of the gods. He's the song is the Lay of Narsilion, and it's a song about the sun and the moon, and it's about this male Maiar named Tilion, who was chosen to carry the moon across the sky, and a beautiful Maiar female named Arien, and she was hardly anyone could look upon Arien. She just was this embodiment of flame, and she was chosen to carry the sun across the sky, and it also speaks of the origin of the sun and the moon. Okay, and he also says that that Arien was so beautiful that the Tilion, the person carrying the moon, loved her and tried to get close to her, but was just burned by her radiance. And also the Maiar Eönwë fell in love with Arien, and nothing ever came of this because you really couldn't get very close to Arien. So she gladly went to carry the sun sort of across the heavens because people really couldn't get close to her. In other tales, Tolkien had scribbled other tales that were obviously not included in the mythology about how Morgoth fell in love with Arien. Obviously Arien was very beautiful, and so that may or may not come into this tonight. But do you remember, for those of you that have been here, I just mentioned Eönwë. Does anyone remember that name, Eönwë? He's in your lore cards too. This is going to seem all like who the hell are you talking about? Until we actually do the trials, and then you're going to know these people, right? You're going to feel a lot like what I'm saying now doesn't make a lot of sense, like you did at the beginning. But now you basically have the storyline, and as you meet these people and interact with them, you're going to know who they are. So Eönwë will become important. He led Ingwe's people, the elf you're talking to right now. He led them into battle in the War of Wrath. That Eönwë is said. So the reason you've heard Eönwë's name before is he's mentioned in the prophecy. Tulkas, Eönwë, and Turin are all mentioned in the prophecy as battling Morgoth in the final battle. Well, do you remember the Valar up here, right? They're the highest, the gods. The Maiar serve the Valar, and Eönwë was a Maiar, right? So Tulkas was probably the best fighter. He's a Valar. And he's also mentioned in the prophecy, but he was more of like a wrestler. And Eönwë used weapons and was like the best at sword fighting, but he wasn't the most powerful because he was a Maiar. Okay. All right, so now you got a little bit of background from Ulmo. This is the first time you guys are talking to a god, so that was pretty cool. All right, so is everybody at full hit points and ready to go? All right, so Yngwie also says, he has his hands out, and he says, I'd be glad to take this Silmaril for you. I know that Finarfin would, be very happy, the king of the Noldor, to have 2 of the Silmarils recovered, and knowing that you're going for the 3rd. So you're speaking to your High King, MJ, the High King of all the elves. So what's the call? Are you going to give him the Silmaril? So he's very protective of it. Not everybody can touch a Silmaril, so he's a little trepidatious at first, but he's able to hold it without being burned. And he sort of takes off down the mountain towards Tilion. And as you look into the portal that opens before you, you see the cold wastes of northern Aman. So if we're looking at a map, I will share this with you. Let's see, Arda, no. Let's look at Valinor, no. I'm trying to find the best. Oh, here, this is a good one. I don't think I've shared this one with you before, but if you look at where you are in Aman, you're on the coast, up on Taniquetil. It looks like a white spire, like a white mountain. You're on the palace on the top of Taniquetil, which is the biggest mountain in the world. And so far you've been to Tilion, which is down in the valley, sort of in the Calcaria, the Pass of Light. You've been in Eldamar and Alqualunde, which is to the north on the coast. You've been at the island of Tol Eressëa. You've been on that sort of the reef of islands to the east of Eressëa, where the Tower of Pearl is. You've been there. You are heading straight north to where it says, I think this is actually like in a different language, some of these names, but if you look all the way north, do you see where it says Oiomure? Oiomure, and it's like frozen, the frozen wasteland up there. And then even farther north, Helcaraxë. Helcaraxë was supposedly destroyed when Aman was broken off from the world, but there still is ice there. It doesn't connect anywhere now, but there still is jagged ice, and it's that is where the Noldor, after they killed a bunch of their kin, trying to find the Silmarils, that's where Fëanor began to lead his people back to Middle Earth to try to find the Silmarils. And Galadriel actually made that trip. She's one that survived that trip. So she's very old, but it's like a barren wasteland where people die, even the immortal people. And you are, it opens, and John, you would recognize Eönwë as not quite far north as Helcaraxë, but there's not much there. But you think there's probably a reason the portal is taking you there.